today. Today we're going to be working on some multiplication properties. So make sure you have your paper and your pencil, and also grab your math packet that came in the mail. So you're going to need those things, and let's get started. All right. Hi, boys and girls. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on some multiplication properties. And so I grabbed my vocabulary cards, and I'd love to just go over these with you really quickly. So when we're using multiplication, we know that we're talking about putting two things together in equal groups. So 4 times 6 is the same as 4 groups of 6, which is 24. You can see in this card they've used repeated addition here. All right, so just basic multiplication. When we are multiplying, the numbers that we multiply together represent factors. That's what they're called. So a whole number that divides equally into another number. So if 1 times 12 and then 2 factors together equal a product. The result of when two numbers are multiplied together. All right, so we're definitely going to be talking about these words: factors, products, multiplication. And when we talk about multiplication, oftentimes we are discussing what property of multiplication they fall under. So the word property reminds me of adjectives, kind of like when we talk about attributes. That's the math word for adjectives, is what I like to tell my students. So property is just a way to describe it. So when we think about looking at just a basic multiplication fact, it usually can fall under several different properties. So today we're going to be just reviewing quickly all of our properties, and then we're going to jump into the property we're going to study today. So the identity property of multiplication is the one that I usually teach first. It's the property of 1. It just means any number times 1 is equal to itself. Pretty easy. I like to tell my students to remember the trick by identity. You have an identity as a person. There's only one of you. So the identity property is multiplying by 1. The number gets to stay the same. The official definition is when you multiply any number by 1, the answer or product is that number. All right, moving into our next one. The next property is the commutative property. And this one is another one that I teach pretty early in the year. And this one is just that you can flip them in any order. You can multiply your numbers in any order. So we're going to think about if 4 groups of 9 would be the same as 9 groups of 5. This is a typo. What should this be? This should be the number 4. I've never seen that before, boys and girls. Learn something new. We'll just change that out. Change-a-roo. All right, so the commutative property just means that you can multiply in any order. So 10 times 2 is the same as 2 times 10. All right. All right, the next one is very similar to the commutative property. It's the associative property. It's just a grouping. You can multiply groups of numbers in any order and get the same product. So here's an example. If you have the numbers 2, 9, and 6, you can multiply the 9 and 6 first in the parentheses and then times 2. Or you can do 2 times 9 and then multiply that product by 6. Same here, you can see how they have different numbers in the parentheses, and then they multiply by the third number. All right. And distributive property, which is actually my favorite because I have a fun little song, but I'm going to save it and not do it at this video because we're going to have a whole nother video on the distributive property, and I want you to enjoy it with me then. But if you know it, go ahead, pause the video, and sing it because it is just that fun. All right. So the next one is the zero property, and you guessed it, this is the one that we're going to be working on today. So we're going to be thinking about multiples of 10, and when you think about a multiple of 10, it involves the zero property because any number times 0 is equal to 0. So let me show you what I mean by that. First, we're going to start with our goal. So today, our objective, so on your paper, you're going to write, I can multiply using multiples of 10. right, now the second part of our I can statement is going to say this uses the zero property. I just want to make a little bit of a clarifying sentence here so that we know what we're using and we can remember that not only are we learning to multiply by multiples of 10, but we're also using that property. So important to remember our math vocabulary. This uses the zero property. All right. So in my class, we like to refer to this as ZP, zero property, and it's because whenever we are doing multiplication, sometimes we'll go back and we'll look at all of them and say, oh, that was the commutative property, and that one used the distributive, and this one is the zero property, or sometimes we say the zero trick because it's kind of fun. All right, so let's jump in. So number one is going to be 5 times 6. Now, we know our fives. Most children in grade school can count by fives. So we're going to count quickly by fives. I'm just going to make 6 little dots here on my paper, and we're going to count those by 5. So ready, count. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So if 5 times 6 is 30, then 50 times 6, well, this is why we call it the zero trick. So instead of thinking about this as 50, I want you to think about it in your think bubble as 5 tens. So what is 5 times 6? 30. So 5 tens times 6 would be 30 tens, which we know that 30 tens is the same as 300. So 50 times 6 is equal to 300. All right, let's do another one. I'm going to grab a different colored marker here. Move over to green. This one's going to be a little thinner, I think. All right, so now we're going to keep on with this 5 times 6, and we're going to just kind of play with it a bit. So if we did 50 times 60, So I've had some students in the past explain it like this. Well, I know this is 5 tens and this is 6 tens. So 5 times 6, 5 times 6 is 30, or in this case 30 tens, right? But actually, look, we have 1 0 and then we have 1 more 0. So the trick, or the way to check, is to think about, okay, well, what is this number times this number? And we've got that 30. And then how many zeros are left in your problem? 2. And so then you should have 2 additional zeros in your product. All right, let's try that one more time. Let's go 7 times 4. 7, 14, 21, 28, 28. So 7 times 4 is 28. So I can write that down, 28. So if 7 times 4 is 28, then 7 times 4 tens is going to be 280. Good job. All right, I want you to write this next problem down, and then I want you to tap your screen or press your space bar, and I want you to pause the video and try to work it out on your own. So on your own, try to solve 7 times 400. Okay, boys and girls, let's check your work. So 7 times 4 was 28, and then I can just count my zeros. 1, 2, loop them on over, and I get 2,800. So it's the zero trick because you can just break it back down into your basic multiplication fact and then use what you know about the zero property and multiples of 10 to be able to solve these quickly. All right, let's do another one, number 3. Let's do 60 times 20. So go ahead, again, pause the video, tap your screen, or press the space bar and take a second to solve this problem. Check your work. 6 times 2, well, 6 times 2 is 12, and then I can see that this is 6 tens, and this is 2 tens, and I have a 1 0, 2 zeros, so I'm going to have 1,200. All right, it also goes for division. So I'm just going to show you this as kind of a challenge. So this is outside of our main goal, but just as an extension, if you feel like this was super easy and you remembered this from our lessons, then try this challenge problem. If you took 240 and you divided that by 8, what quotient would you get? All right, so I know that dividing just means into. So if I have 240 cupcakes, why not? And I divide those into 8 equal groups, then I'm going to think about 240 passing them out onto 8 tables for maybe a really fancy fundraising banquet or dinner. Because I know the zero trick, I'm just going to think about 24 into 8. So I can sing my 8 song, row, row, row your 8s, 8, 16, 24. So 3. So there are 3 groups of 8 and 24. So if I have 3, but I know that I have this 0, then 8 times 30 must equal 240. Now, division can be a little tricky because the zeros cancel each other out. And let me show you what I mean by that. So we'll continue our challenge problem on here. So I'm going to take 240 and I'm going to divide them by 80 tables now. Okay, so if I have 240 cupcakes and I have 80 tables, then how many would go on each table? Here's how we would solve that. 24 divided by 8. Well, I know that 8 times 3 is 24. So 3 groups of 8 must be in 24. Now I'm going to think about, well, I have a 0 here and a 0 here. Well, if you're taking them and you're putting them into each other, then the zeros cancel each other out. Okay, so if there's a 0 here and there's a 0 here, then we do not put a 0 here. Okay. Unlike this problem right here, there was not a 0 over here, so we had to loop it over. Okay, so this is just a little bit tricky, and as you get more comfortable with using the zero property with multiplication and with simple division, you'll start to understand why this works and how it can look in models. But nobody, not even Miss Gerald, wants to count out 240 cupcakes and then pass them out onto 80 different tables to figure out that there was 3 in each group. I want to use my multiplication facts to help me solve these things quickly. All right, friends. So today you are working on this strategy. You're going to be grabbing your packet. So you're going to find page 231. I'm going to show you what it looks like. 231. And this will be the page that you will work on today. And so you can see it's right here. It's multiplying by multiples of 10. We know that 10, let's see if this will focus. And there we go. It's not real clear. It's a little tiny, but this says 10 times 3. We know 10 groups of 3 is 30. And then 20 times 3. So as you can see, this is going to be pretty easy. It's just going to take you slowly through that process, getting you really comfortable with using that multiplying by 10. And it's going to build your knowledge so that you're really ready to dive in more into your division and to these challenge problems when we move into that. All right. There is a question here that asks you if you agree with the student. John says the problems above are easy. Do you agree with him? Why or why not? please don't just write yes or no. I want to know what you think. Tell me if you think they're easy and why. And if you can use the zero property and use some of that very excellent math vocabulary that I love so much, then that's going to show me that you're really, truly ready to move on to the next standard in this skill set. All right, so once you finish this, tell me if you agree or disagree and why or why not, using some awesome words. Then you're going to move on and get a little bit more practice. Then you're going to not do this page. Do not cross it out, but this page is for next week. So on next Wednesday, you're going to get to do this page with Miss Cheryl in a lesson. All right, friends, that's all I have for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed this lesson. Please make sure that you're working on your Khan Academy mastery goals. I know that we can't have the Khan party in our traditional way at school, but I have been thinking of some things that we can do either this summer when our stay-at-home order has been lifted, we can get together and do as a group, or maybe in the fall, I need to talk to Dr. Sork and see if we can have some kind of Khan Academy special Saturday where we come to the school and work and do some Khan party things, or maybe we can have a day where you guys get to walk back down to 3rd grade and we'll do the Khan party, or we can partner with 4th grade. We'll figure it out. So I want you to get your party, but more importantly than a party, I want you to have all that knowledge in your brain so that when you do go to 4th grade, you can feel successful because you are successful. So work hard, practice, and make sure that you're practicing your math books every day. It's so important that you don't forget those. It's really easy to just forget them if you don't use them. So make sure you're picking up your pencil and your paper and you're working on those math facts every day. I love you guys. I miss you. Have a great afternoon and I'll see you tomorrow.